What's up, everyone? It is that time. Birds Deep, the Godfrey, and I got my man, the NFL genius over there. Tell him who you are, Gene.
Bean! Woo! Gene, how y'all feeling tonight? I just rip off Mean Gene Okerlund every week. And I'm fine with it. I'm fine with ripping him off every week.
Well, by name, but I will say, being a self-proclaimed very good wrestling historian, he never shouted it like you shouted it. So it is a difference in delivery.
I'm trying to give the Ric Flair approach, the way Ric Flair used to shout his name.
Yeah, Mean Gene was like, rest in peace, Mean Gene, by the way. But he did pass away. I don't know if you knew that or not. Hard to keep track with wrestlers.
I didn't, but thank you. Make me cry before the show starts.
You know who else passed away? You ever see Waffler, the guy who does all the tasting on TikTok, the curly guy, fat guy with the hair?
We're going to talk about the
Waffler.
Eagles tonight. I'm just kidding.
We
No,
are.
I never seen Waffler. I'm just messing with you.
But no, listen, guys, it is that time of year. Eagles got the number 1 seed. They played a game last week. We'll talk about that briefly. Try to give you what path they would have to take to get to the Super Bowl and talk about that because, hey, man, that's the goal, right? To win another chip. Can it happen? Will it happen? And if it did happen, how could it happen? And that's what we're going to explore today. And that should be hella fun. This is what it's all about. Eagles have the number 1 seed, as you have saw. And let's get to the grades first, Gene. Should be a short one. We talked pre-show. It is kind of a vanilla game. Let's get these grades out the way. Get this yogurt done. Because
Sure. Yeah. Where do you want to start, sir?
let's go offense.
Oh, you want to go Nick Sirianni? I mean, we've been doing this for 2 years.
Yeah, go Nick
You're
Sirianni.
Sirianni.
Let's go Sirianni first.
For Nick Sirianni, I gave him a B minus because they won the football game and they didn't show much. I thought that was good. I also thought it was very prevalent that in his game plan he was making sure Jalen Hurts didn't get touched, didn't get hurt, had made sure he was sliding on any play that anybody got near him. It was very obvious in the game plan they didn't want Jalen touched, which is, you've seen the personal foul call against the Giants for the late hit on Jalen early in the game near the red zone. I got pushed in the back by fifth stringer from the Giants who shouldn't be on a roster. But that's what happens when you have to play in week 18 and the other team has nothing to play for. So it was a vanilla game plan. I gave him a B minus. You got out of there with the win. You didn't show too much. They didn't look impressive. They didn't put much. They did not restore confidence in me as a fan, but they got out of there with the win and they didn't suffer any injuries. So you get a B minus for me for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a C plus because when I think of vanilla ice cream, I think of it gets the job done. It's ice cream, but it's not exciting, which is how this game was to me. No one was showing much of anything. Giants were resting their players. Sirianni wasn't showing much of anything. It score, if you're just looking at the score, it wasn't as close as it would indicate. It was really like 19-0 at one point, if I believe. And then, Eagles were like, all right, it's pretty much done. They were trying to put together some drives and shake off the rust from Jalen. I don't know if they accomplished that or not, or it was more of a mix of they were trying to, and they just didn't want to show a lot. But they got the job done. And I'm giving them a C plus because when I think of vanilla ice cream, I think of C. And that's what the game plan was to me. It was vanilla. It's the only ice cream in the fridge, but
You give it like a half a grade higher because he didn't get the quarterback touch, half a grade higher because essentially you got out of there with a win and no one else got injured. Like that's the most important thing, right?
True. But we need some parity on the show, Gene. I can't go B minus and agree with
you
all
I was
the time.
close to B, like a regular B or a B plus.
Think so?
I thought I was being harsh and you went worse.
Well, listen, I mean, sometimes you got to come off the top rope and, it wasn't awful, but it was blah. I mean, it wasn't an entertaining game at all. And I don't think I expected that. So, there was really, the Eagles had a lot to play for. The Giants had nothing to play for. I think if there was things on the line for both the teams, I think the Eagles still would have won just because they have the Giants are lacking talent in certain key positions. I mean, you're running out Richie James and Isaiah Hodgins as well as they're doing. Those are two of your main receivers and Darius Slayton. So enough said. And a lot of people were
Giants had to play a full game and the Eagles had to play a full game. The Eagles still win the football game. I
Yeah.
think the Eagles looked at the situation, we're like, "We're gonna get out of here with a win. Let's be safe, conservative, and get out of here with the win," and that's it. I think that they didn't wanna put too much on tape. Now, I have a very interesting grade for Jalen Hurts, so I'll make you go first.
Okay. So, um, I'm gonna give him a B minus. I just don't. I don't know how much they were gonna let him do, how much they were gonna take the training wheels off, so to speak. Um, it seemed like, hey, let's get AJ his record. They did, and then they pretty much shut it down offensively as far as being creative. I mean, you saw a lot of field goals. You didn't see a lot of really. I don't think a lot of creative play calling. You didn't see a lot of designed runs, and I think he just played in with what they were looking to do as a team. Um, I would argue that they had a better game plan to not get hurt this week than they had a better game plan last week to win the game, but that's just me. So I give him a B minus.
So I have a very interesting grade. And who'd have thought, like, I've given one A plus all this whole season, and I'm giving a satirical A plus. This is satire, but I'm gonna give
Okay.
Jalen Hurts an A plus. Got out of the game unscathed, untouched. Guys, it's very, very obvious that there's one thing we 100% need going into this playoffs. And that's a healthy QB1. The
Oh
reason that
yeah.
we're in this opportunity, the reason that we're the number one seed in the NFC is because of QB1. Now, yes, the other people on the team, you need a whole football team to be a number one seed. But the MVP candidate, Jalen Hurts, got out of that game unscathed, untouched. Another week and a half of healing. So hopefully that shoulder is 100%. And I got news for you. I will get into this playoff matchups, but I think that next week could be very, very difficult depending on who how it shakes out. You'll know everything, in my opinion. You'll know everything by Sunday at 4:30.
Yeah, you will. Um, I think there's a lot of time to prepare, and you're still going to get Lane Johnson back, which is great. You got CJ Gardner Johnson back. I mean,
Yeah, but
so we'll
don't
get
don't
into
don't
that.
kid yourself and pretend that Lane Johnson's gonna come back and be 100%. I don't think he's gonna get through a game. I don't think he's gonna get
Yeah.
through a playoff game. He's withholding surgery. He's got a tear in his abdominal. It's not
True.
there's I don't think he's gonna make it through the game. I don't. You gotta see, it's kind of nerve-wracking to me that Lane Johnson's withholding surgery to play in this playoff game. And I'll tell you why. Because if you knew he wasn't playing and you knew he was out for the year, you could have took a month and got Jordan Mailata comfortable to move over to the right side of the line and play Dillard at the left tackle. Jeff Driscoll is getting beaten like he stole something on the right side of the line. And it's I love Mike throwing the pictures up there. But Jeff Driscoll is getting beaten like he stole something on the right side of that line. And as soon as Lane Johnson goes out of the game because he's injured, guess what's going to happen? In comes Driscoll against, and I guarantee you, whether it be the Bucks, the Cowboys, or the Giants, they're the three teams the Eagles could play. Actually, they could play the Seahawks, but I just don't see that happening. Um,
Yeah.
I really believe that you're going to see either Kayvon Thibodeau, Micah Parsons, whoever lining up directly over Jeff Driscoll as soon as Lane Johnson leaves the game. And I really don't believe that Lane is going to make it through the game. And I love Lane, I do, but that's a tough injury to have as an offensive lineman.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he's borrowing To's deprivation chamber and sleeping in it every night. Um, that's a tough injury to get through, but he is one of the toughest guys out there. He's played through injuries before, so I'm 80%, 75% him compared to 100% of certain other players is still better, but there does leave a hole. So I agree. I mean, I'm not under this illusion that he's going to be fully healthy. I mean, but they need him out there. He's a proven leader, and I think the O line is going to be well rested. They know what to do. And that's one situation. That's one part of the team where I have the most faith in the ability to adapt. And I think, hey, man, they better be working hard with Driscoll because you're right. He's going to be in there sometimes. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
So my question for you would be defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon, how did you rate him out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna give. I wasn't like they didn't give up any points, right, for most of the game, and then they were pretty much the game was pretty much done. I'm gonna give him a I have this thing against Jonathan Gannon. It's really hard for me to give him an A, but it's just, um, I'm gonna give him a B plus. I think it was a good effort. I don't have a problem with it. I don't think they were really challenged that much. I mean, Kenny Galladay caught a touchdown. People are trying to make something out of that, and talk crap about Darius Slay. I'm like, stop. Like, you know, eh, you know, for every good cornerback there is throughout history, like shutdown corners, whatever they're good at, they get beat. They're like pitchers. Someone's gonna get a home run off them one of these times. Not everything's gonna be a strike. That's how I look at cornerbacks. And Darius Slay's fine. People made a little bit too much of that. So I guess they're just bored waiting for the next playoff game. But I don't. The defense, I thought did fine. Um, you know, it was 19 nothing until what was it? Was it midway through the third when the Giants got their first points? I'm trying to remember the exact pinpoint, but I thought they did a good job overall. I mean, they held
Yeah.
it down. They made it so the defense didn't have to. The offense didn't
19
have to score
nothing
a lot of
until
points.
19 nothing until 50 seconds left in the third quarter. I'm going to
Okay.
give Jonathan Gannon a C. He was going against Davis Webb, uh,
Yeah.
Gary Brightwell, Matt Breida. They allowed
Thought Davis Webb was out of
6.1
the
yards
league.
per 6.1 yards per carry on the
Mm.
ground. Did not turn the Giants over. And there's no interceptions. Uh, Davis Webb ran for 40 yards on the ground, scrambling, 23 of 40, 168 and a touchdown. I Yeah, I'm not happy about that at all. Did you feel comfortable when it was 22-16? Like, if the Giants
No,
got that on a kick, how do you feel in that scenario?
I didn't feel comfortable. I just didn't feel in danger. I mean, listen, like they, I'm not a fan of his
I hate
defensive
his
scheme
defense.
overall.
I
So
hope so badly that the Texans hire him as their head coach. I've said that for 2 years. And listen,
the
anybody that
question is,
thinks
does
that
someone come
Jonathan
in and
Gannon.
does an understudy of his come in and do the same thing though?
Give
I
me
hope
Vic
not.
Fangio on the defensive side of the defensive coordinator. Give me Frank Wright as my offensive coordinator, and the team is better.
Oh, I would love that. I
You're
just
gonna
think
lose
Vic.
Steichen and you're gonna lose Gannon. Let's talk about that for a minute because
Yeah.
the quarterback carousel is real, right? So I think that you're gonna run into Steichen going to the Denver Broncos. That's my prediction. I think that they'll look at what he did with Jalen Hurts and they'll think Russell Wilson, mobile quarterback, and I think they hire Shane Steichen. I think that Jonathan Gannon goes to the Houston Texans, and that's my two. That's my two predictions. Who would you like for offensive coordinator, PD? If you don't like Frank Wright, Frank Wright was here, and that offense looked great. He actually worked with Nick Sirianni in Indianapolis. Nick Sirianni also said when they beat Indianapolis, that one was for Frank. So they're very close. He worked with Frank before. Frank's out of a job. Who would you like if that's funny to you? I don't. I just trying to let let me know. Let me know your old holy wisdom of who you'd want as your offensive coordinator when Shane Steichen takes a head coaching job somewhere else.
I have an alternative, but I mean, it's a long shot. I mean, would they consider Brian Johnson, QB coach, who's worked with Jalen Hurts a good part of his life? Um, you know, would they consider him to be a play caller? Are they grooming him
Why?
for that?
So why?
I mean, listen,
Why move him from what he's doing? You see how much
I mean,
success the Philadelphia Eagles had in 2017. Yeah, John DeFilippo and Frank Wright. One is the quarterback coach, one is the offensive coordinator. Why? Why not bring in another good coach? You not think that
I'm not anti
Steichen is,
Frank Reich, by the way.
bro? Stop it, PD. Listen, you might have no way. I'll take it. Steichen's leaving. Even with a Super Bowl, do you think Gannon and Steichen will go? Yes, I think even with a Super Bowl, they're both going to leave for head coaching jobs. Both of them have head coaching careers ahead of them. They've made it very clear, particularly Gannon. Um, I think that Gannon has made it very clear he wants to be it. This is a stepping stone for him. He's interviewed
Yeah.
for head coaching jobs multiple times. Steichen did not turn down the phone call to interview for a job already. So why would they not? I think both of them do leave.
I mean, yeah, that's what you're here for in coaching. I mean, you don't get rich in coaching until you hit head coach. status at a decent program in college or head coach in the NFL. So I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into coaching at the lower level positions on the coaching staff. Those guys aren't making a ton of money. They even used to make less back in the day. So they're definitely both gunning to be a coach, 100%. Um, I think Gannon's getting interviews because, and I don't agree with this, but I think a lot of the NFL defenses these days, and I think they do it for cap reasons, like to put in these what they call these funnel defenses, where they funnel all the action to the middle of the field. You don't give up any big plays. So for some reason, someone's attracted to him because of that. They do have a lot of sacks on the Eagle side, so that is a positive. I don't like the funnel defense, but that's what I'm going to call it. I mean, that usually teams used to do that back in the day when they didn't have a very good defensive personnel. That's not the case with us. So, but I think teams want high
Okay,
powered
so hold on,
offenses.
hold on. Can I go through the Eagles defense for you for 1 second?
Sure.
Brandon Graham has been an All-Pro once in his career, a borderline Hall of Fame player. He's not going to make the Hall of Fame, but he's a borderline Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.
Fletcher Cox has been an All-Pro in his career. Javon Hargrave should have been a Pro Bowler this year. Hassan Reddick is an All-Pro this year. Kazir White led the AFC in tackles last year. Has played great this year. TJ Edwards led the team in tackles this year. Avante Maddox is considered highly contested as the best slot corner in football. Darius Slay is an all-pro cornerback. James Bradbury is a Pro Bowl cornerback. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson led the NFL in interceptions. The defense is loaded with stacked players. I didn't even get into Jordan Davis being a first-round draft pick
Mhm.
on that defense. I didn't get into the fact that they got Ndamukong Suh in their rotation. I didn't get into the fact they got Josh Sweat in that rotation. I think that anyone that feels like he doesn't have the ingredients to be successful, it's wild. I think Gannon's success is attributed to them having an all-star caliber defense. Their defense is stacked at every level. Even
Yeah, but
Marcus Epps
teams
looks like a
like him
great
for some
leader.
reason, and that's my explanation is the type of defense that some of these guys want with the a lot of them try to mimic the Chiefs. That's what the Chiefs do. Their defense is designed to put the clamps down when you're playing from behind. So if you have a high caliber offense, that's what they do. I could that's the only way I can explain why he's so popular. I don't know why he is. And you're right, he has a stacked defense. And Graham had a career year this year. I think he
Correct.
had his career high in sacks. I mean, so you're getting some good Reddick,
Look at that
has he
defensive
ever had more
line
than
on the
16 sacks in
screen,
a
man.
season? See what?
I don't know. But look at that defensive line on the screen. And even
Yeah.
T-Rex, Mel Williams has played great this year.
T-Rex.
That was his nickname, remember? We
I
made
know,
fun
I
of
know.
it.
It's just
Short
funny every time I hear
arms.
that. Yeah. He ain't blocking any field goals. Maybe he is. I don't know, but
So, can you do me a favor, Mike? Can you throw up PD's comment about Steichen isn't leaving, and then the Hardball and Peyton Dominoes have to go first?
yeah, well, Fangio,
All right.
by the way,
So,
is only
so
gonna
hold on, hold
come
on.
to
I want to respond to this comment. So, I agree with you, PD, that those Dominoes, those two are the biggest names on the market. It's going to take a million things to pour away from Harbaugh, away from Michigan. You're going to need to give him full control. That's what he's going to want. Sean Payton, on the other hand, is you're going to have to trade for him. So teams are going to have to give up first round draft picks, things of that nature. So let me ask you a question, PD. Let's say Shane Steichen does leave and you're the general manager. Who are you going out to get to be your offensive coordinator? If not Frank Wright. So I just would love to hear that answer.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
Godfrey,
mean,
what are you saying?
I would be getting Steichen. That's my answer. But so if somehow the Broncos end up hiring Peyton, Vic Fangio will be available for defensive coordinator. I don't see him going
You
to the
said Mike
Broncos.
LaFleur. The guy just got fired for being awful. Are you
Mike
serious?
LaFleur.
Yeah, he just got fired from the Jets. He was their offense coordinator for the Jets.
Yeah. The Jets, though, they had a lot of Jets is a whole other ball wax. But that's for
So
pregame at
so
Pigskin.
Zach Wilson digressed this year. Took him with the
Yeah.
second overall pick and he got worse.
Yeah, I
Okay.
I don't
Well,
know
Mike
about Mike
LaFleur.
LaFleur either. No, no. I wouldn't do Mike LaFleur. I would be looking if I was trying to do that, I'd be trying to pluck a Kyle Shanahan understudy if I'm not going Shane Steichen, a Mike McDaniels type if he's out there. Um, you know, Mike LaFleur, I'm not so sure about. And he'll end up on Kyle Shanahan's staff anyway because that's kind of the tree he came from, right? So I I don't I agree with you. I'm not doing Mike LaFleur for the Eagles. Frank Reich's
That's the
good.
that's the
I
most
think he brought
airtime Michael Floor is gonna get on this show.
yeah. I think, Frank Reich would be great for the Eagles because it'll bring, stability, leadership in the coaching room. He's been through the wars. He's won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. I wouldn't be against it at all. I do think Shane Steichen's gonna end up going somewhere. Peyton, I think, is going to the Cowboys, and I think they're gonna be the ones crazy enough to trade for him after they fire Mike McCarthy this year.
Okay.
I've been saying that for a year, and I think it's absolutely gonna happen. If
Well,
for you think you're
I
gonna have to
mean,
give up a first round pick, Gene? Like, whoever gets
100%.
Peyton?
A first round plus. A
Wow.
first round plus.
That's crazy. I mean, I believe you. Arians went for what, like a 4th round when he came retired and came back to the Buccaneers?
Yeah, that's a totally different. What do you, John? Think about John Gruden when he went from Oakland to Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
He went for a first round draft pick. Then that's the type of coach you're talking about. You're not talking about Bruce Arians, who's 74 on the back end of his
right.
career. You're talking about Sean Payton, Super Bowl winning
Jerry
coach.
Jerry Jones is crazy enough to do it. I wouldn't be surprised to see him, being a Cowboys coach if they could come to terms of how he'll be able to run the team. The only caveat I'll put to that is Sean Payton comes from the school of Bill Parcells. He might call up Bill and be like, "No fucking way. I wouldn't coach for Jerry Jones." So that could happen, but I think Jerry will throw a ton of money at him and he'll spend the pick, in my opinion, because I think McCarthy's a goner unless they get to the NFC Championship.
Okay, well, that's a good segue into what we're about to talk about. Who the Philadelphia Eagles are going to play. I got news
Yeah.
for you, man. Let me give you my first take on this, and then you guys can you can just
Okay.
jump right in and tell me what you think. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to play the New York Giants next round. I think we're going to play them for a third time. I think the Giants upset the Minnesota Vikings this Sunday afternoon, and I'm telling you right now, I think that's the game you want. You want to root for New York over Minnesota because that's the game that you can line up and say we're better than you at every position on the football field. Now, here's where it gets a little bit more difficult. I think the Eagles are going to run up against the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC Championship. I think the Cowboys absolutely slaughter the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week. Slaughter the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week. And I think they'll go into San Francisco and beat Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. And they will be playing in Philadelphia for the NFC Championship. Eagles Cowboys, round 3.
Oh,
You
sorry.
got
I'm having an
Jalen
orgasm
versus
right now.
Cooper. You got Jalen versus Cooper Rush. You got Minshew versus Dak. Round 3 to go to the Super Bowl. You get Jalen Hurts versus Dakota Rain Prescott and the Philadelphia Eagles going to the Super Bowl.
Dakota
That
Rain.
is that is where I'm at. That's what I see. That's my projection. Look, I would love to be wrong. I would love to laugh at Dallas and have them lose this week to Tom Brady. I would love for that to happen. That's what you're
Yeah.
getting. And NFC Championship game. I believe it. I truly do. I think it's great for the Eagles as far as uh, Mike McCarthy staying there, not them not getting a better head coach, which would be amazing to me. Where do you see it?
Yeah. I think it might play out a little bit different. I'm gonna give you a stat real quick that I heard. So this year, the Cowboys are 1-4 when playing on grass and score 7 points less a game. On turf, you know, they're much more successful this season. That's where I'm getting that stat from. And they score 29 points a game versus 22 on grass, right? Um, so I think the game's gonna be a lot closer in Tampa. I think Tampa squeaks it out. Um, and then I see, the Eagles are there. So if Tampa squeaks it out, they're not playing Tampa. They're playing Tampa only if the Giants
If everyone holds
lose.
serve, if the 49ers win and the Minnesota Vikings win, if the favorites win, the Eagles get the winner of Tampa versus Dallas on Sunday.
Okay.
If the Giants win or if the Seahawks win, the Eagles will get one of those teams on Saturday. Just so
Yeah,
if you guys are at home wondering how that works.
yeah, and plus, listen, I feel like Dak hasn't been playing well. He didn't look well in the last game. Interceptions have been up, and that's pretty astounding to me about playing on grass. They're going to be playing on grass in Tampa. They're going to have to play on grass, I believe, in San Francisco, and it'd be grass in Philly. So I know that sounds crazy, but 7 points is a big swing for your average per game, and I just thought it was a really interesting stat. I I I just don't. They don't look like they're really firing on all cylinders, and you could say that about other teams, but I don't feel like Dak is really that defense. Anthony Brown went down on the Cowboys, and that defense hasn't been great either for them in recent uh, games, right? So they got some good players on there, but they haven't really been firing all cylinders on defense, and I think they really need that to pull this game off. And I see the Buccaneers edging them out. The Buccaneers make me nervous. If I'm betting, I'm taking the points of the Bucks, but I see the Bucks advancing, and I see them playing the Eagles in the link or at the link the following week. I don't see the 49ers losing. I think it will be a lot closer than people expect. I think the Seahawks will cover at the plus 9.5. I don't think they're going to win, but the Brock Purdy train is going to stop at some point. I don't think the Seahawks defense is the one to do it. They're throwing a lot of high percentage passes. And thing about the 49ers, good team, great defense, but they can't score all the points. And we did this exercise last year, Gene, with the Eagles going into the playoffs. What quarterbacks did they beat, right? Now, Niners have beaten some good teams. I'm only gonna reference this when I'm talking about, you know, since Brock Purdy took over. All right. And when I look at this, these teams that they just beat the brakes off of aren't teams that I'm like, okay, impressive, right? Uh, so they beat the brakes off the Cardinals. No, I'm sorry. This damn website, man. I'm telling you. There we go. They beat the brakes off the Cardinals. Who's that, right? The Seahawks, they're playing next week. The Raiders put 34 up on them. So they beat the Raiders. Not a great team. Commanders, Seahawks again, close division game, 21-13. They beat the brakes off the Buccaneers. That's the one team I'm like, all right, decent team, but they've been struggling until toward the end of the season. And he got Tua was hurt halfway into the Dolphins game, if I'm not mistaken. No, that was Garoppolo was hurt. It was
Tua
Tua
played the
was
whole
in that
game.
whole game actually. So I don't know, man. Brock Purdy, I know you've been an anti-Purdy guy, and I've always been teasing you about it, but I do believe you're right. When the playoffs come, man, I don't see him taking them to the Super Bowl. So I see
No,
them
definitely not.
advance. Yeah, I just don't see that happening. I think the Brock Purdy train is going to stop in the playoffs, and they're going to end up playing the Vikings if they win. The Eagles aren't going to play the Giants, right? Because they're the 6th seed.
No, if
So
the Giants win, we would play the Giants as long as
we
San
play the
Fran
Giants.
beats Seattle.
Yeah, man, I want to say the Giants are going to win too. I'm kind of with you on that. Jay Jettis
So
really
predict the
torched them
first
last
round.
time.
Predict the first
Say what?
round. Who do you think wins? San Fran, Seattle,
Oh, San Fran, absolutely.
Minnesota,
I
New
just
York.
tough one for me, but I'm gonna go New York.
Okay, so if you go New York, then Dallas versus Tampa. Who you like in that one?
Tampa.
Okay, so you have the Eagles versus the Giants, and then San Fran versus Tampa. So San Fran
Yep,
versus Tampa.
yep. And I think this is where I think the train might come off, and I think we might see Eagles, Buccaneers, NFC Championship game
See, that
in
makes me
Philly.
nervous. Makes me
I know
nervous.
it does.
Tom Brady wins 2
You-
playoff games, and he's going on the road for a 3rd one to go to the Super Bowl. I hate that. I don't wanna see Tom Brady. I don't. Why would you wanna see that?
I don't want to see it, but that's just kind of how I see it shaking out. I mean, Tom Brady does make me nervous, but I've watched a ton of games where he makes it nervous. And here's the one thing that is Tom Brady's Achilles heel. When Tom Brady was on some of his best teams, I'll bring up the year the Giants beat them in the Super Bowl. The Achilles heel of Tom Brady is what? Pressure up the middle. Okay. He gets rid of the ball quicker than anybody else. But if you're getting pressure and that offensive line is leaky, the Eagles probably, I think, behind the 49ers have the best defensive line in the NFC. Would you agree? Maybe it's
Dude,
maybe right. So they can get pressure on him. This is not the same Eagles team that played the Buccaneers last year in the playoffs or in the regular season. There will be pressure on him. They're not going to be able to have their way with the Eagles. And I think the Eagles can beat Tom Brady and slay Tom Brady again in the playoffs, just like 2017, go and advance to the Super Bowl.
so your prediction is Eagles over Bucks to go to the Super Bowl. My prediction is Eagles over Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl. So you think the winner of the Bucks Cowboys game is who the Eagles will play in the NFC Championship game? Is that fair?
Yeah. Yep. I hope you're right
Okay.
though, because the Eagles Cowboys NFC Championship game just tickles me. The idea just tickles me. I just
Well, just for fun, who do you got going out of the AFC? I know this is an Eagles show, but let's just kind of figure this one out.
all right. Well, I had a controversial opinion, but I think that if do you want me to go team by team?
Let's go game by game.
All right. So
Bills versus Dolphins. We'll be quick with this one because we're going to do it in pregame
Bills,
and pigskin. You want the full breakdown? You can watch pregame and pigskin, which starts in about 30 minutes. So Bills, right? Bengals
Bills,
versus Ravens.
Bengals.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Jaguars versus Chargers.
That's a tough one. With no Mike Williams, I'm going to go Jags.
Okay, I like it. I agree with all three picks. And then you have Chiefs versus Jaguars.
All right. This is where you're going to think I'm nuts. I'm going to go Jags. Listen,
All right. Okay.
weirder things have
Bengals,
happened.
Bills.
Bills.
Bills, Jags.
Yeah, Bills win. I see Bills winning. I see DeMar Hamlin in a playoff game, AFC Championship, and I see Eagles Bills Super Bowl.
Damar Hamlin's
I
not going to
just
play. He's out for the
no,
year,
but I'm
right?
talking about being at the field,
Okay.
like
So
emotion. Yeah, I
Eagles
know he's not
Bills
gonna play.
Super Bowl, and we're going to play Damar Hamlin in that hole, and then we lose in the Super Bowl.
I think the Eagles lose to the Bills in the Super Bowl. That's
Yep.
what
So
when I thought
I
it
have the
out.
same. I think the Eagles lose to the Bills also. I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that as an Eagles fan, but I just feel like after that game last week, the Bills run back 2 kickoffs. Almost feel like they're the team of destiny now. I know that's a little overplayed in sports, but I mean, they're emotionally charged for their teammate, and I feel like we want the Bills Chiefs AFC Championship game. We never get what we want unless the NFL wants to make
Can
it
you
happen and
imagine
just
the tailgates down in Arizona if the Eagles played the Bills in the Super Bowl?
it's gonna be like WrestleMania 39.
It would be
It's like
absolutely insanity in Arizona if the Eagles played the Bills.
yeah.
That would be like, and it would suck because I really think we lose that football game.
Yeah, I think we do. I think Sean McDermott will outcoach Sirianni, in my opinion. I just think he's more of a veteran coach. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. There's a lot of weapons on that team, and I just think they're just gonna be riding that train. And I already felt they were gonna have a shot at the Super Bowl to begin with. But things are just opening up for him if you look at it. Like they're getting Skylar Thompson in the first round. Really?
It's
And that
basically a bye.
basically a buy. And I mean, I just that's where I see it going. That's the final for that. I mean, the Eagles, listen, there's always a chance. There's always a chance. But I just have this vision of, the Bills raising a Super Bowl trophy and they have DeMar Hamlin on that stand with them raising it. And I could just see it. I could just see it.
Oh,
And I'm glad,
stop
by the
it.
way, I mean, can't you see that?
Yeah, I can. I can.
Yeah.
And that's the
And the
point. I
kid,
can 100% see that. And we're going to have obviously a bigger breakdown of the game next week as we figure out who the Eagles are going to play. This is a shorter episode that we're going to have for Birds Deep this week. But before we go, because I still want to to give a counterfeit green this week. I kind of wanted to break that down. Do you have one this week?
Who, me? I have
Yes,
one,
you.
but you got to go first, man. You're coming in with the intro.
Okay, I so counterfeit green for me this week is Jonathan Gannon. And I really waited to use this for a long time. I think that he's a fraud defensive coordinator. I really believe that. I think you have all the tools in the kitchen, and I think that you are believing this man's $100 bill when really he's a piece of paper that you can draw on with a marker, and it's counterfeit. I think Jonathan Gannon's going to go somewhere and be a head coach, and I think the Philadelphia Eagles will be better because of it. Nothing against Jonathan Gannon as a human being, man. I get it. The Eagles are great at beating up on bad teams. Their defense looks great against terrible quarterbacks. But outside of Kirk Cousins, I want you to tell me which great quarterback he's shut down. I want you to tell me which
It's a fair
good
shake. It's a
quarterback
fair.
he's put a great game plan around to stop and slow down. 2 years. Just give me one instance. So
Yeah,
my counterfeit green is Jonathan Gannon.
that's a fair point with that quarterback assessment. I don't disagree with you at all. I mean, you do look at that, and you can only play who's on your schedule, but I went through the same
Dude,
exercise.
every time you look at what he's been up against, and every time he's been against a quarterback that I consider top 12, he's got shredded. Seriously,
Yeah.
like let's go through the. Sir, I'm not like trying to be smart ass. We got time. I'll go through the 18 game roster real quick.
Go ahead.
Jared Goff, borderline top 12, 35 points. Kirk Cousins, borderline top 12, 7. Primetime game. Okay. Carson Wentz, 8. Trevor Lawrence, 21. Kyler Murray, 17. Cooper Rush, 17. Kenny Pickett, 13. Davis Mills, 17. Taylor Heineke, 32. Matt Ryan, 16. Aaron Rodgers, 33. Ryan Tannehill, 10. Daniel Jones, 22. Justin Fields, 20. Dak Prescott, 40. Andy Dalton, 20. And then whoever, uh, Davis Webb, 16. Do you feel confident hearing that? That's what we went against this year. Like, stop lying to yourself. Like, this guy's a good defensive coordinator. He's not. He's not.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's scheming the players into success. I think the players are playing him into success. I mean, that's the
They're
best way
going
to
to give
put it
him a head
because
coaching job. That's
yeah,
team. Howie Roseman got that man a head coaching job.
100%. I mean, and the thing is there's a lot of games that you can look at that, but I'll give you a micro example of it. The Saints, Andy Dalton. What was he? 10 for 10, 12 for 12 his first passes.
Yep.
And we all knew that. I knew inside of me, I said to myself before the game, like, watch Andy Dalton start off like 8 for 8. Like, and you know what? It's because we've come to expect this kind of stuff from him. He's continually
And he
doing high
adjusted. I
completion
gotta give him
percentage.
credit. He adjusted in the second half. They start playing press coverage, and Andy Dalton looked like Andy Dalton in the second half.
Right.
But why did it take a full half of football for you to play press
Exactly.
coverage against Chris Olave and Godfrey's cousin? Like, that's who we're playing against.
You've never seen my cousin run a hook route, man. I'm telling you. Like, but listen, I agree 100%. And that's the thing about it. Like, yeah, you won the game. The total was low. But to be honest, with this defense they have, they should have scored 3 points if you did that from the start of the game. And they thought they were just going to waltz right in there. And I just have serious. That's the only thing about the Eagles is after the last quarter of the season, I have a lot of concerns about preparation by the coaching staff. That's the only thing that scares me about them is, saw in the Saints game, even with Jalen Hurts, listen, hey, let's not run our quarterback in the middle, right? I mean, the kid's talented enough. Miles, you take the ball. Like they said he was audibling out of it. Well, listen, hey man, you're the coach. Some of these younger coaches, that's what they scare me with. Like I'll talk about our pregame and pigskin, but Jair Alexander roasted Justin Jefferson, but that team decided to wear the wrong cleats because they looked better. I don't know if it made a difference in the game or the performance, but that was another example of a young coach, not showing leadership. So I agree, man. It total counterfeit green. Jonathan Gannon is. I don't. I'm. That's why I'm always grasping at an idea. Like, why do people love this guy so much? Like, why is he getting head coaching, you know, interviews 2 years in a row? I wouldn't
Hey,
hire him as my
listen,
head coach.
that's fine. I'm glad. I hope they do. Godfrey, give me your counterfeit green. We only got a couple minutes left.
Counterfeit green for me is not for Eagles, but Cowboys related. We used to hear like, oh, you lost to a backup, you lost to this guy. Well, you guys just got spanked by Sam Howell. And looked awful. Had to play your starters the whole game and couldn't put together a drive. What was the final score? 29-3. Gene correctly called it on pregame pigskin. I don't think you thought that was gonna be a blowout.
No,
But
not that
you
bad.
yeah, but the whole, well, you beat a backup the first time you beat us, and but that didn't count for when you beat Gardner Minshew, and then you guys lost to a guy that was sitting on the bench all year. So you're
26
counterfeit
to
green. 26-6.
26
Yeah,
to
it's
6. Final score.
pretty bad. Pretty awful. So, Dallas Cowboy fans, you have entered into the counterfeit green.
Well, that's good. I'm glad Cowboys are counterfeit green because they're super counterfeit team. And I can't wait to play them in the NFC Championship game because that's where you're going to see them. The NFC's weak
That'd be
this year, man.
Yeah,
Seriously,
it's
like
true.
going down it real quick before we hop off the show, and we'll talk about it more on pregame and pigskin. Check us out. But we'll have Carolina Teague guest hosting with us, Spurs beat reporter. But seriously, Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy, the Vikings, the 49ers, the Giants with no wide receivers, Daniel Jones, Tom Brady, the worst Bucks team I've ever seen with Tom, the worst team I've ever seen Tom Brady play on. The Seahawks with Geno Smith. Like, can you think of I'm not, I'm literally, if I told you before the season started that the NFL playoffs would be Daniel Jones, Brock Purdy, Kirk Cousins, the NFC playoffs, Daniel Jones, Brock Purdy, Kirk Cousins, Tom Brady would have his worst season of his career. He'd be in the
Geno
playoffs.
Smith.
Geno Smith. If I told you that before the season, what would you think?
I would have asked you who the hell Brock Purdy was. I would have been like, and Geno Smith, I'd have been like, um, you're on crack. I'd just be like, yeah, okay, Geno Smith is gonna, because listen, he did have a good season, but he's still Geno Smith. I'm sorry, I'm not buying into him long term. I've seen things
Next.
in the game, but yeah, man, it's wild how it shaped up, and how many 1 point wins or one possession wins did the Vikings have this year?
11.
Like 11. I
They were
mean,
11-0, one possession games. 11-1 at the end of the season. They lost one possession game late in the season.
yeah. So yeah, man, it's crazy, but it's going to be exciting. So there's a path for the Eagles to get there, and this is one of the easiest
What?
paths I've
Yeah,
seen.
since there's a path, always path.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
whether
This
the
is the
path is
easiest
gonna
path.
be you could possibly see Daniel Jones and Brock Purdy on your way to the Super Bowl. Daniel Jones and Brock Purdy.
Yeah, Daniel Jones has been playing a lot better though. I mean, Dable
Oh,
helps
yeah,
reduce turnovers.
stop it. I'm
You don't think
so
he's played
sick
better
of
than
that.
last year?
That's the worst narrative of all time, and it's not just you, it's everybody. Daniel Jones has earned a contract. Daniel Jones is awful.
Well, I'm
Stop.
not saying he earned a contract. I'm saying that to get to the playoffs with him and and I feel like he got improvement out of him, Ryan Dable. I mean, he's better year over year. I mean, his biggest bugaboo was turnovers, limited turnovers. I'm not saying sign this guy to a 4-year deal, but sounds like the Giants might be doing that, which is nuts.
I love it. I'm to a long-term extension. I would love to play Daniel
Yeah,
Jones
that would
next
be
5
great
years.
actually as an Eagles fan. I hope they do that, but I see him getting a 2-year deal or something like that, but we'll see.
All right, so, we'll be, uh, we'll be back next week.
Yep. Eagles playoff preview. Jump over on Sports Empire Network, pregame and pigskin. Check us out. If you don't know where to get to the show, we'll share it to the Birds Deep page so you can jump in. We're gonna be talking all playoffs, talk about the football. Special guest host Gene will be there. Kyle will be there, and Please forgive me, I forgot the lady's name that you were bringing up. That is a beat reporter for
Carolina
the Spurs,
Teague, man.
Carolina Teague.
Carolina Teague.
So she will be there, and it's going to be a great show. So tune in, catch us, guys. This is the Godfrey and Gene. Not saying goodbye, just saying take it birds deep.